Good morning. Welcome to the Marion County Board of Commissioners meeting. It is Wednesday, April 15th, tax day. And we are here in the Senator hearing room at Courthouse Square. We'll begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So would you join us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a lot of people here today. This is very exciting. This is our wonderful volunteer day. And we're going to start out with a presentation. Kathy Crocker is here. So this is called the 2014 Annual Volunteer Recognition Awards. So Kathy, why don't you start us out? And I know we have a lot of presentations to do.
We do. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm really excited to be here. I am Kathy Crocker, Volunteer Services Coordinator for Marion County. And I have something better than taxes to bring forward to you. It's much happier. I've got some wonderful people here to recognize and share some of their stories about what they accomplished as volunteers for Marion County in 2014. I'm really super pleased that Marion County has chosen to be super supportive of volunteers, has made a commitment to have staff dedicated to that. And business services is doing a great job of overseeing that. So I'm thankful for that support. So what I do, I place volunteers in various departments and positions throughout the county. And that can include internships, which really help with a student's career path. We actually get to play a part in shaping the future workforce, which I think is very important, and have them get exposure to the workforce. I place advisory board members, which can be really exciting to try to tap into the expertise and the what experience that people can bring to an advisory board to help us make informed decisions. And people of goodwill that just want to give back to the community. And there are a lot of those folks out there that want to find their passion and have time and talents to give. So I'm always excited to help work with them. Really, our volunteers span all ages and diversity with a varying skill sets and backgrounds. One challenge I do have, I often get parents that call that are interested in helping their young children or young adults try to find volunteer opportunities to expand their resume, to gain new skills. And we really at Marion County don't have a lot of opportunities for those under 18 years of age. So with that, I'm really happy that I'm the immediate past president of what's called Mid-Valley Volunteer Managers Association. And through those networks, I'm able to help refer those calls to the appropriate organizations that can utilize young people. So last week we did a proclamation for Volunteer Week in Marion County that coincides with National Volunteer Week. This week in the mail, all of our active volunteers from 2014 should be receiving the thank you letter that you sent as the Board of Commissioners, along with a coupon for a free donut at Roth's Fresh Markets. So really appreciate the partnership that we established with Roth's, and hopefully everybody will go out and enjoy their donut on us. We also have in front of you a whole bunch of beautiful flowers we worked with a partnership with Egan's Gardens, and they gave us a great discount wholesale and donated some as well. So hopefully our volunteers today can take some of those home and plant those in their yards and remember the good works that they've done all year. We have some highlights in our report that I've given you today. There are some extras on the table over there, as well as it will be posted on my website, so everybody can see the different departments, the different volunteer opportunities that we've had throughout 2014. And there's some really exciting ones. We had last year, you might remember, it's not like this year, but in 2014 in January, we did have ice and snow. Our Jeep patrol with the sheriff's office was able to go out, and they assisted with Salem Hospital, getting Salem Hospital staff to the hospital when they couldn't get to work. So critical services, and hopefully, save some lives. We also have had the reentry initiative in 2014. I know Commissioner Carlson is very proud of this, but we reduced in 2014 recidivism rates to an all-new low of 14%. So that was really an exciting initiative. And we've also had some great work with our emergency response and management groups, our CERT teams, our ARIES, the medical response teams, and what have you. I'm excited because this year it seems like we're starting to get more, we're thinking more out of the box as staff, and we've got some exciting opportunities that have, and placements. One has been through the health department, where we have placed a Russian speaker who is working with the old Russian communities and just working on building relationships and helping that community access services. So that's exciting. And also recently we've developed the IDDAC, which is the Intelligence and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Committee. And that group helps advise our Health Advisory Board on special needs and services that that community is needing. So anyway, what I want to do today is introduce you to not only the report, which we had in 2014, 3,668 active volunteers who contributed over 147,000 hours. If we had to have paid that workforce, it would have been over $3 million. Although I want to reinforce that volunteers do not replace staff in Marion County, but they enhance our work and help us fulfill our missions. So that's really important. So I'm excited today. I've provided you with a script, and what we want to do is recognize these volunteers for service during the previous year. And how these nominations work is anyone can nominate from county programs. And I had a team of volunteers who are volunteer managers in other organizations in the county be our selection committee. That was Gretchen Jordan with the Oregon Office of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman, Michelle Furman with Shangri-La Corporation, and Sherilyn Bechtel with Union Gospel Mission of Salem. And even though we're giving some of these special awards today, I really want to thank all volunteers who really have helped with all of our departments and the fabric of what we're doing here in Marion County. So I have a script for the commissioners, and if we'd like to come forward, I have plaques and some certificates, unless you'd like to talk about the report first.
Well, I just wanted to make one comment before we came down, and that is, first of all, thank you for all the work that you've done on this, and I know it's a big job. You spend months pulling this together, and certainly the work that we're doing with volunteers is wonderful. And I just wanted to point out on the Marion County Reentry Initiative that it's finally in the report. Every year I've said, where is it, where is it? And this year it's here. And 7,254 hours. That's pretty impressive. So I think we were undercounted by probably about 7,000 hours the last 5 years each. So just wanted to make sure that that got on the record. So thank you.
Thank you. So what our commissioners are going to do is give us an overview of what the different awards are. And we do have some nominees that we want to recognize, and then we have those that have been awarded the prize. So,
are you ready?
yes.
All right, I'll begin. The first is a Youth Volunteer Award. This was developed to recognize volunteer accomplishments of young people 24 years and under in county programs and departments. The award is intended to highlight an individual's contribution. The winner of the Youth Volunteer Award is Stephanie Burbank, and would you please join us up front? Stephanie started out volunteering at the dog shelter as part of the Salem Kaiser adult education classes. She has since graduated from that program, but continues to spend an average of 15 hours a week socializing the dogs. She is proactive in communicating with our staff on new and exciting behaviors a dog may exhibit, or if there is a health concern. I have a new behavior I should talk to you about. This communication keeps our dogs healthy and adoptable. She works with our dogs on leash training as a positive influence for all the staff here at the shelter. Stephanie's dedication in working with our dogs ensures that they will find that perfect forever home. She is reliable in volunteering her time, which means the dogs have a consistent person when trying to learn new behaviors. Stephanie helps train other volunteers within the Salem Kaiser adult education classes, shows them how to work with dogs in a safe and positive manner. Stephanie first started her time with us being shy and unsure of herself in a public setting. Since that time, she has blossomed and her skills have grown tremendously. The staff of Marion County Dog Shelter believes she should be recognized for her continued dedication to changing her community by volunteering to help our dogs.
Volunteer pin as well as certificates, and you can pick your one.
All right, well, we'd like to get a picture. He's not talking. Yeah, sorry. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We do one more? 1, 2, 3.
All right, now we're moving to the Advisory Board Award. The Advisory Board Volunteer of the Year Award is to recognize an individual who has made significant contributions to a Marion County Advisory Board. Through this award, an individual volunteer is recognized for service or leadership, or an ongoing commitment to an advisory board, or for work on a one-time special task force or ad hoc committee. A lot of words there. We had several great nominations, and we'd like to recognize a worthy nominee in this category. Andrew Schmidt, will you please come forward? The purpose of the Water Quality Advisory Committee is to serve the interests of the citizens of Marion County by providing direction to staff with regard to stormwater and water quality education, regulation, and county programs. Andrew consistently attends the Marion Water Quality Advisory Committee meetings, well prepared and with a professional demeanor. During meetings, he's a leader as the chair. He provides insights while also listening to other committee members. He pushes the meeting agenda forward with purpose rather than getting bogged down. Andrew is an example committee member that others can follow. And then we have another. Should we have the.
Oh, okay. I thought this one was complete. One. Do one more.
Got one more.
Oh, sorry.
So should we do the next person? Okay, so then this year's Advisory Board Volunteer of the Year is Dawn Miller. Would you please come forward? The Board of Property Tax Appeals provides a venue for property taxpayers to appeal the assessed value of their property. The Citizen Board provides a level of accountability to government and an independent review, plus an explanation to the taxpayer of property value methods used by the assessor. Don Miller has used his vast knowledge as a real estate appraiser to rule on appeals for the last 11 years. The petitioners benefit by the professionalism of the board and the pride they take in their work. While the petitioner may not receive the relief on their taxes as requested, they usually, this is really appropriate for today, right? They usually leave the hearing with a better understanding of the assessment procedure and application. Many times petitioners comment on the timeliness of the hearings and the fact that the board is willing to listen to what they have to say. Thank you, Don, for your fine work on the Marion County Board of Property Tax Appeals. Different kind of taxes, right? All right.
All right. Ready? Oh, okay, a few more. 1, 3. Do one more. Right.
The program or division award is intended for those volunteers who display dedication and exemplary accomplishments within the division or program in which they volunteer. Volunteers in this category are recognized for the contribution to the customers or clientele the program serves and the betterment of the community. Again, we had several great nominations. We'd like to recognize worthy nominees in this category. Tom Hyde is unable to join us today as he is off to Hawaii for a well-deserved vacation, but we'll share a bit about him. Tom Hyde volunteers with Marion County Sheriff's Office. He has used his organizational and time management skills, along with his ability to work independently, to reorganize the record storage area. The storage area is located at the far end of the jail in a room that is a collection site for unused items and records. Tom reorganized all the records by type and destroy date. All records had to be gone through, reboxed with the specific contents and destruction dates notated on the outside of the box. Tom made multiple trips transporting items for surplus and records to be destroyed. This project is very time-consuming and tedious, and to save the deputy and administration staff many hours. Tom can always be counted on to be positive and genuinely happy to help.
I'll be sure to get his certificate to him.
And then another worthy nominee was the team of John Basalto, and Maura Hughes. Can you please come forward? John retired after 31 plus years of service with the San Joaquin. What? Okay. Anyway, County Sheriff's Office and relocated his family to the Salem area. John had a desire to stay active and an even stronger desire to become a volunteer with the Sheriff's Office. With a strong background in the criminal justice field and intense interest in history, and having written many articles and books, John was asked to take on a project that was only at the idea stage. The concept was to create a Sheriff's Office newsletter, and John eagerly agreed to take the lead on the project. During the summer term, 2014, Maura Hughes came to the Operations Division as a student intern to complete her practicum. From the beginning of her internship, Maura's skills with computer-based programs and her ability to apply those skills when assigned projects became very important. It was based on those skills that she was one of 2 student interns assigned to work with a volunteer to create and publish a Sheriff's Office newsletter. Together, John and Maura were instrumental in creating the layout, format, and also the naming of the newsletter. I don't know what this means, but Bolo Bulletin. The concept of the newsletter was to publish something that would be of interest to the employees, but also be a benefit to the community. The information that they have been able to present at events and publish have proven to be a great benefit to bring education, safety tips, and program recognition. The newsletter was put on the Sheriff's Office website and was also posted on the Sheriff's Office Facebook page, which is available to view by the community. So thank you, John and Maura, for your terrific efforts.
What is it?
Bolo is be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout.
You should have known that.
Ready? 1, 2. Do one more. 1, 2. Right.
This year we have a team of recipients for the Outstanding Volunteer Program or Division Award. Help us congratulate Terry Jacobson and Karen Lee with the Community Services Department and the Dog Shelter. Please come forward. So Karen, today, Terry's here. Terry and Karen work as a team at the dog shelter. For the past 2 years, they have come into the shelter and photographed the adoptable dogs. This simple act of sharing their talents with the shelter helps us get our dogs adopted by making sure each photo captures their personality and character. It is well known in the sheltering community that a good photograph of an adoptable pet will create attention and get pets adopted. Their generosity of time, equipment, and talent help our dogs find a perfect home. They donate their time and talent at various events in the community to provide professional photography to pet owners and donate all the proceeds directly back to the shelter, which generate much needed revenue for our program. Not only are their photos beautiful, but they spend precious time getting the perfect photo. Terry and Karen believe in the mission of the dog shelter program and the importance in making a difference in our community. Thank you, Terry and Karen.
Ready? 1, 2. Do one more. All right.
Yep. Yeah, you're doing the Mary.
The next is the Mary Piermine Outstanding Volunteer Group Award. This award is in honor of the late Mary Piermine, who served as commissioner for Marion County from 1991 to 1998. In addition to being the first woman commissioner, she was also a champion of volunteers and volunteer groups. This award is intended for those county-affiliated groups with membership that consists of volunteers. This year, the volunteers of the Marion County Sheriff's Mounted Posse are the recipients of the Mary Piermine Outstanding Volunteer Group Award. And so could all the representatives of this program please come forward and leave your horses.
Hey, John, how are you?
I didn't know he was.
County searching, am I off a notch? All right. County search and rescue teams are volunteers who provide a great service to Marion County residents and visiting guests to our recreational areas. Volunteers provide their own equipment, horses, transportation, search equipment, and many other needs. Volunteers also donate their time to training and search missions. Many use personal leave to contribute to a lost or injured individual. These individuals are dedicated to Marion County Sheriff's Office and Marion County residents. The Marion County Sheriff's Mounted Posse members are responsible for acquiring their equipment or any other necessary equipment required. When the Sheriff's Mounted Posse assists with a search or rescue mission, they typically work many hours to complete their mission. Marion County Sheriff's Mounted Office provides a great service for the county and residents in life-saving situations. So thank you to the Mounted Posse for your service. And I know you do a lot of other work maintaining crowds. I see you at the St. Paul Rodeo, and so I know you have a lot of activities besides search and rescue. It threw me a little bit. I was looking for something on it.
The Iris Festival Parade, I was see you there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but anyway, congratulations.
Ready? 1, 2. Do one more. 1.
Turn your page.
this plaque will be hung in the Board of Commissioners office as a perpetual memory.
So now we have the Judge Rex Hartley Volunteer of the Year Award. The late Rex Hartley served as a county judge and commissioner for Marion County from 1951 to 1966. Judge Hartley was dedicated to involving citizens in the development of the county. The volunteer receiving the Judge Rex Hartley Volunteer of the Year Award is given an engraved plaque, and his or her name is added to the perpetual plaque displayed in the commissioner's reception area. This year's Rex Hartley Volunteer of the Year Award recipient is Renee Albert with the District Attorney's Victims Assistance Program.
Renee, thank you.
So let me tell you a little bit about Renee. Renee began volunteering as a victim advocate after nearly 100 hours of training back in September of 2013. Just in the past year, she alone has volunteered over 1,000 hours to the program, working with victims of crime. She has been a consistent and dedicated volunteer. She actually lives in Dallas, Oregon, right? So drives to Salem a minimum of 3 days per week consistently to assist victims of crime. This type of work not only takes a huge commitment of time and training, but it can be an extremely emotionally taxing task. Renee handles that with compassion and uses humor as a healthy coping mechanism. The longer a person does this work, the more seasoned and experienced they become, and they can take on more challenging cases. Renee has earned the respect of her colleagues, our staff, and the deputy district attorney she works with. Thank you, Renee. All right. Oh.
I'm gonna put this down for the picture, sorry.
Did you want to say something to the class?
Oh, no.
There we go. CCTV.
Oh, I didn't know we had more.
Actually, let me do the staff recognition really quick if I
All
could.
right.
So I could not do this job all alone. I get the pleasure
Testing,
of,
testing.
Oh. I get to do orientations with our new volunteers and meet them and greet them, but once they go out to their respective departments, I really rely and trust the staff that I work with to make sure that they're greeted regularly, thanked, trained appropriately on the job that they're going to be doing, and just good communication all around. So I have a couple of staff I would like to bring up right now to recognize. Our first is Jeff Bickford with Public Works. And Jeff is a pleasure to work with. He is really good at communicating back with me, with his staff, Jolene, who also helps. But almost every time I come and present a new advisory board member, Jeff comes personally to greet them and thank them for their service. And that goes a long ways. So I really appreciate Jeff. I have for him, our volunteers are cool. It's a cooler to enjoy. So thank you, Jeff, for your time.
Stay for a picture.
Oh.
You gotta hide your microphone. There you go. Ready? Here we go. And do one more.
Have you stay up here. Shannon Schmidtke, would you please come forward from the Health Department? It was funny because about 2 years ago, Shannon and I met when she first started, and she came in today, and I obviously had a lot on my mind, but I didn't recognize her because we work so much via phone and emails. And what I want to say about Shannon and her is her thoroughness. She is so detail-oriented and helps keep me straight on all of the different appointments, especially interns with the health department. She's very thorough, and I really appreciate her help. Oh, yes. Oh, she does. She gets a cool thing, too. And then lastly, I'd like to bring up Dale Bradley. Dale, from Marion County Sheriff's Office. Dale's fairly recently new to his volunteer coordination role with the Marion County Sheriff's Office, and I couldn't be happier with his help. He is so personable. Everybody on his teams knows him, trusts him, respects him. It was hard to replace Doc for many of those of you who remember Doc, who started the volunteer program out at the Sheriff's Office. But Dale has filled those shoes very well and is extremely personable, easy to reach out to and talk with. And he does a great job of coordinating volunteers at the Sheriff's Office. So thank you, Dale.
We might need to mention this, but there we go. One more.
So I think it's you.
The next is a group that just helps us so much. They seem always be available no matter what the event when we need them to try to get the message out of what the county's working on, what the board's working on. So the county would also like to thank the volunteers of CCTV who film the commissioners' board sessions each week. We want to thank and recognize these dedicated volunteers who spend their Wednesday mornings behind cameras making sure the public has access to the work of county government. So would the CCTV come out from behind the cameras for a minute? Mark, you're always coming out. We don't need you.
My name is Joe Fabry. I'm the, well, I blew it, okay? I'm the sound person for Marion County.
I'm Ed Freydale. I do the camera.
Thank you, Ed.
Oh, yeah. Yep, go. Cooler. You don't want to miss me, guys. Ready? Go. One more. Thank you.
I do. Thank you to all that help Marion County with volunteering. But I want to congratulate ourselves for, I think, choosing the right person to be our volunteer coordinator in Marion County. And Kathy Crocker does a great job of getting people lined up and interested and keep them going. Thank you so much.
I agree. So this concludes our volunteer awards ceremony for recognizing the year 2014. We'd like to end with congratulations to our award recipients and say thank you to all Marion County volunteers who help make our communities more livable and vibrant. So thank you all. No, we just add it to the agenda.
I'll do that now.
Yeah, right after public comment. Grab some flowers. So it'll be a lot for somebody else to have to water.
Please.
Everybody take a flower. Or two or three.
No.
There's a mounted posse certificate there, right there too. Did you see that? It didn't get handed. So you can take that if you'd like. Or we should maybe get one for each of them. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah. Take a lot of flowers.
Yeah. Well, they would like this one. I'm pretty sure they want that one too. Yes?
Yeah, two. Yeah, you need, how many girls do you have?
Oh,
So
there you
take
go.
two flowers. My goodness,
Yeah,
you think
thank
they're
you.
going to share? Yay. Well, that was very nice. So the next item is public comment, and we don't have anyone signed up, but I think I see someone in the audience that may like to speak. So it's Chris, right? Right. So give us your name and anything else that you want to say. And tell me how you spell your name again.
It's Christopher, and the last name is Oss, O-S-S.
Right, that's right. Okay,
And
thank
it's
you.
4088 State Street.
I'm sorry, what?
And my address is 4088 State Street.
4088 State Street. Got it. So now you're on the list. So thank you for coming down.
Yeah, I came in peace today. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for allowing my business to stay open, and I just want to express a couple concerns that I've seen with the upcoming ban ending. I have a place opening, you know, a couple miles from me now, and then I found out there's another one opening in the opposite direction. And I understand that businesses have competition. I'm fine with that. But my concern is the fact that if it's oversaturated, there's been a lot of statements by people in the community as far as Salem, how it's getting oversaturated with dispensaries, and that they see it as a relief that our side of town isn't, you know, one every 1,000 feet like the law allows. And I mean, if you see out south, they have on commercial, across from Winco, there's one, and then I think it's 1,003 feet up the street, there's another. And that's my main concern, is that if Lancaster, once that opens up, I mean, I completely agree with raising the fees. I mean, I think you could even go up to 1,000 would be reasonable. And I just see it's going to be kind of open door, because a lot of places have been closed down the past few weeks in Salem due to, you know, parks being close to them. And there's been concern that in Salem there's going to be a 14 dispensary cap. And I think the county would be wise to either put a bigger buffer zone in between dispensaries or do a cap. That way, you know, the community doesn't see it as a nuisance, because I mean, already now there's more dispensaries than there is McDonald's and Starbucks combined. And that's just my main concern, just that the community gets sick of us. And my other concern is that I understand the daycare. I think that's reasonable, but I know there's one of the two dispensaries that's opening. One of them's trying to get their mom to open a certified daycare to try to kick us out. And that's one reason that they decided to open close to us, because then they'd hopefully get our business. And I mean, if we could, I mean, I know that helps close up the gap between, you know, where a lot of people can actually open on Lancaster, but if there's any way to change that to like a 2-mile buffer zone between dispensaries, or 3 mile or 1 mile or 5,000 feet, just something to limit it more. But that's all I got to say today.
Chris, or I'm sure if I could, a question only somewhat related. I've been thinking about it, and you might be the person I'm just start with to ask. I've been wondering about why we'll have a two delivery system here in Oregon coming up, and should there be a distinction one to the other, or just tell me what your thoughts are.
Personally, I voted no for recreational because medical's still in progress of working out. That's a hard one. I really don't want recreational to start. I wish they could push it off, but legally they're obligated to allow it to start. But I think combining them would be a better deal. It's going to be a headache for me, like the accounting and different computer programs for different product. But if they have them in separate buildings, then it's going to double the amount of dispensaries overnight, because a lot of people still want to stick with medical because I truly believe that there's medicinal quality in it. And so I plan on staying with that. But if you don't adapt for the times, you're just going to get left behind. And I employ 7 people now, and if that happens, I'd have to hire 10 more. And I really don't want to get into recreational, but it's just kind of the way it's going to go. And it's kind of a bad deal, I think. But allowing them to combine would be a lot better for the state, because it, keep the amount down instead of, I was down in Oakland visiting family, and it's ridiculous down there. They have them just stacked one after another, after another, after another. And that's not how, even with legalization, and I haven't been to Colorado or Washington yet to check it out, but there's well more than any other business, any chain business in those places. So I think the best option for the community would be to allow them to both be together, but I really wish they didn't vote that bill in.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, anybody else that didn't sign up? I'm not seeing any hands going up, so let's move. What did I do with my agenda? Oh, here it is. It's right in front of me. Let's move to the consent calendar. Before we do that, I think we're going to make a motion here to add an item to the agenda.
Madam Chair, if I could, I'll make that motion. Then we want to add to the action agenda consideration of a memorandum of understanding with Multnomah County and Third Sector Capital Partners Incorporated for a Pay for Success technical assistance grant.
All right, I'll second the motion to add that to the agenda. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's added, and we'll add that under Board of Commissioners, under action. We can do that after the Public Works items.
All right.
So next we'll move to the consent calendar, and we have 3 items today.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve our consent calendar this morning. Under the assessor, we approve a resolution that approves the fiscal year 2015-16 County Assessment Function Funding Assistance, the CAFA grant, in the amount of $6,664,729. Public Works schedule adoption of administrative ordinance granting zone change comprehensive plan amendment case ZCCP 14002, Ferris Timber Incorporated, Clerk's File 5688 for April 22nd, 2015. And tax collector approve an order authorizing a property tax refund to Umpqua Bank in the amount of $89,398.43.
And I will second the motion, and I was going to ask John a question on the CAFA grant. He's not here, so I will just kind of put on the record, each year we approve this CAFA grant prior to the budget process. It's because the state requires, their deadline is prior to our budget deadline. I went through the material, and I didn't see anything that would bind the budget committee in terms of new positions or decision packages or those types of things. The way I understand it, you can make adjustments to the CAFA grant after your budget is done. So I'm approving this on the basis that it doesn't supersede our county budget discussions or anything during the budget process. So any further discussion on any of the consent items? No. Those in favor of approving these items say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And they are approved. So let's move to action. Under Public Works, we've got 2 items, both about medical marijuana, which we just heard about. The first is to consider approval of an order reestablishing fees for medical marijuana dispensary ban exemption permits. And the second is adoption of an ordinance amending the medical marijuana dispensary code provisions by emergency procedure. And we have Joe Fenimore and Scott Norris, who are here to tell us what we're doing this morning and why.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Joe Fenimore.
And Scott Norris.
Because both these items have to do with the medical marijuana dispensary ban permits, I'd like to give you a brief overview of how we got to where we're at now. In 2013, the legislature passed a bill that directed Oregon Health Authority to establish rules to register medical marijuana dispensaries beginning in March of 2014. The rules that they adopted allowed dispensaries in agricultural, commercial, and industrial zones, included a 1,000-foot buffer setback from public or private elementary, secondary, or career schools attended primarily by minors, and required a background check on the person listed as being responsible for the facility. Marion County was concerned that these regulations were not robust enough, and in response, adopted Ordinance 1333 in February 2014. That ordinance required these facilities to obtain a ban exemption permit in order to operate in unincorporated Marion County. The permit could only be obtained on properties zoned for a dispensary, appropriately zoned, which would be the commercial zones. Additional 1,000-foot buffers were added to include other locations where minors gather, including public parks, daycares, day nurseries, etc. In addition, background check from the Sheriff's Office is required for all operators, workers, and volunteers, and the facility must comply with the county's alarm ordinance. It also limited hours of operations from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. The 2014 legislature then passed a bill that allowed local governments to enact a moratorium on the operation of medical marijuana dispensary facilities until May 1st of 2015. On April 30th, Marion County adopted an ordinance that imposed a moratorium which will last until May 1st of 2015. At a work session in January, the board discussed the ordinance and possible changes with staff before the moratorium expires. One of the issues discussed was having the fees cover the cost of processing the permits. Initially, the board adopted fees by order in March 2014, included a permit fee of $200, a renewal fee of $200, criminal background check fee of $45 per person, and an appeal fee of $250. At the work session in January, staff reviewed the fees with the board and compared them to fees adopted by both the City of Salem and the City of Kaiser. The City of Salem produced a very detailed analysis of the costs and adopted permit fees of $701, 481 of which is refundable if the permit is denied, a background check fee of $160, a renewal fee of $220, and an appeal fee of $750. Although we're similar, not exactly the same as Salem, at the work session, we discussed it as close as we are to Salem, the better, since most of the facilities would be located in the East Salem area. The revised fee order for you under consideration today would establish a permit fee of $700, 480 of which is refunded if the permit is denied, a renewal fee of $220, a criminal background check fee of $45 per person, and a permit appeal fee of $750. The board has the option of approving the order as written, direct staff to make changes to the order, or take no action at this time. And we'll be happy to answer any questions.
So thank you, Joe, for that overview. And my questions really aren't on the fee structure because you described it. We did have a work session or it was, I can't remember, it was management update, it was somewhere. It was a work session? It was a work session. And went through and compared and all of that. And the 700 of which 480 is refundable is the initial permit fee, right, for someone coming in new, and then the 220 would be the renewal fee for any dispensary that's already in operation. But I was just a little curious about the oversight on on the dispensaries, just given the testimony that we heard, because we've had this ban now, so we haven't had dispensaries, if at least legally, in business. Up until now, other than I think the one that was grandfathered in when we, because they had completed their process by the time that we had put that moratorium in place. And so now if the door is going to open up on May the 1st and the cost of this is supposed to cover enforcement also. That was a piece of the puzzle that other jurisdictions had looked at, and we had only looked at the planning side of it. So maybe can we hear a little bit about what the enforcement needs are going to be? 'Cause, do you want to come up and talk about it a bit, or would you? You didn't come here just to watch, right? And mostly what I'm concerned about is, so if there, are we keeping an eye on the dispensaries that are going to open around May the 1st? If there's a situation like was described where someone's trying to take the business of someone else so there's a daycare. Someone says, well, why don't you open a daycare close to this one, and then I'll move like 1,003 feet over here, and then how do we manage things like that? Because the intent was that if there was a daycare, you wouldn't be moving close to that daycare. And I think we did talk roughly about the idea about daycare centers potentially opening, but all of a sudden now this creates a whole nother picture that I hadn't thought about.
That's an interesting situation he brings up. I know of one of the dispensaries that attempted to open within the unincorporated areas of Marion County. And I'm sorry, for the record, Chris Baldridge with Marion County Sheriff's Office. We immediately contacted the owner of that dispensary and told him to immediately stop. And then also Mr. Fenimore did as well. And to my knowledge, that has not been open. And in fact, that Joe said that he's done some additional drive-bys and said that it's stopped. We obviously, of course, on the enforcement side would work with Mr. Oss, and any type of sidestepping or trying to take business from another in that towards means that certainly doesn't seem to be the spirit of the law, and I don't see us enforcing it that way. So I think we take that on a case-by-case unique basis right there, and come back and work with Public Works as well as the board to see what our general opinion is on the enforcement of that.
Okay, great. So you are out and about, and you're noticing what's going on, and it's going to become more, what's the word, challenging.
Yes.
After May the 1st.
Yes, absolutely. So we, our code enforcement staff will be tasked with obviously keeping an eye on those folks, as well as maintaining those permits and background checks. And so we'll manage it as it comes up. I'm certain that there are probably things that we haven't thought about in regard to this as they start to pop up, but we'll address that as it comes up.
And I guess then back to the question then of the enforcement being embedded, because we did look at enforcement as part of the fee, or does this just cover the planning costs, Joe?
We looked at that also as part of that's the processing cost for issuing the permit is about the $220. That's why you pay the $700 and you get the refund if you don't get the permit. And part of that is the continued enforcement.
Okay.
It's just to pay for that.
And then and you think that's going to be enough to cover what you need to do then?
Initially, I think it will be, yes.
Right.
And then, of course, we can, if we start to see a vast increase in these or a large amount of problems associated to them, then we'll approach Public Works and obviously the board and bring any concerns forward.
Okay. All right. Great. Did you have questions?
Well, I don't know what I may have said before. I'm trying to remember on that daycare, but I know now that I wouldn't have much sympathy for an operation that moved in knowingly, or even if they didn't know and didn't check, and then expect everything makes way for them. So whatever we need to make sure that doesn't happen, I hope we do.
Okay.
That's all. So, looking for a motion?
I think so. I don't have any other questions, do you?
And I would, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the order that establishes fees for the permit, renewal of a permit, criminal background check, and appeal of a denied, revoked, or suspended permit for a medical marijuana dispensary facility.
Okay, and I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, those are approved, and like we said, if it doesn't cover the cost, then we need to hear from you, because we certainly want to have adequate enforcement. We just don't know what it's going to look like out there. So, all right, next item, same topic. This is adoption of an ordinance amending medical marijuana dispensary code provisions, and this is by emergency procedure because it's an ordinance and not an order. So, Joe, you want to walk
Yes,
through
once
this?
again, for the record, Joe Fenimore. As you noted, this item is to consider an ordinance to amend the medical marijuana dispensary code provisions. At the work session in January, the board discussed changes in the code it would like to consider before the moratorium was lifted. Staff has drafted the ordinance for the board to consider, and your options to adopt the ordinance as written. direct staff to modify the ordinance and bring it back for consideration or take no action. Unless there's questions for me at this time, I'll let Scott go over the proposed changes with you.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Scott Norris with the Office of Legal Counsel. There are three changes in the ordinance. This is in Chapter 5.25 of the Marion County Code. The first would alter the time within which a permit holder may apply to renew a ban exemption permit. The current code requires a permit holder to apply for renewal no more than 90 days and at least 60 days prior to the expiration of the existing permit. The proposed change would shorten that time window to no more than 45 days and at least 10 days prior to the expiration of the existing permit. This would bring the processing of the renewal application closer to the time of expiration, and it was deemed that that time period, that would be a sufficient time period to process a renewal and would make the processing closer to the date of expiration. In particular, the background checks would be closest to the date of renewal. Second is a clarification that owners of a medical marijuana dispensary must submit to a criminal background check. There was a bit of an ambiguity in the language in that one section of the code states that owners must submit to the background check, but then the section that actually describes the background check did not specifically state owners. So the term owners is added to that section to clarify that owners are subject to the background check. And finally, there is some revised language to clarify prohibition on co-location of a medical marijuana dispensary with a medical marijuana with a marijuana social club where marijuana is consumed, regardless of whether it is a recreational or medical marijuana social club. At the time that the medical marijuana facility ordinance was adopted, there was no prospect for recreational marijuana. Measure 91 had not yet been passed. So the language specifically prohibited co-location with a medical marijuana social club, and the change here would remove medical to clarify that co-location is not allowed with any type of marijuana social club, whether it's recreational or medical. And if there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
You go ahead first.
I do, but it's just kind of because I'm not a lawyer. So I was looking, obviously they have to have the background check, so I asked, so what happens when someone doesn't pass that? And all it says is it's a violation. And I guess you assume that if it's a violation, they don't get the permit, but couldn't that have been more clearly just stated, or is that all assumed and I don't worry about it?
If it would be if they would not pass a background check, they would not be eligible to obtain a permit. So in the first instance, if they are an original applicant and they did not pass the background check, they would not be eligible to obtain a permit.
I understand that, Scott, but I just would like it to say, and this means that they won't, just what you just said, not that just that there's a violation, what's the consequence of that violation?
So I think so we have the whole chapter, so this just replaces
Yes, I
three
looked
little
at it.
sections. So it doesn't say that. It says an application may be denied unless the applicant satisfies all the application requirements and regulations set forth in this chapter. And then is there a place here that says that they have to pass a background check in order to be approved?
Yes. Let me.
If you think it's covered, don't need to spend a lot of time on it. I was just looking.
Yeah, here
for
it is.
something to-
Applicant
I'm
shall
trying to
provide the
find it.
following information: name of business, business owner, copy of OHA permit, confirmation of passing a criminal background check performed by the sheriff for all owners, employees, or volunteers. So those are all.
And that
good.
was, that was the section I was referring to previously, where it specifically calls out that owners must pass the background check, but the section that described the background check did not specifically include owners.
So I have a question about the social club part of it. So Measure 91 is passed, but it doesn't take effect until July 1 to do what? I can't remember what it is. Is it sales on July 1, or is
No.
it sales on January 1 and use on,
Madam Chair, Commissioners, it's personal use
On
on
July 1.
July 1, or you can give away marijuana to someone, but you can't sell it
until January 1? So we have some time between now and January 1 before there actually will be sales of recreational marijuana. And having not read the entire Measure 91, and having also voted against it, I was just curious. So I know that the law requires personal use, not in the public, but in the privacy of your home or whatever. Does it allow use of marijuana in social club types of situations? And then I guess my question then, the next question is thinking forward to, because this is just fixing this for May the 1st, but we're going to have to deal with the zoning and whatever of medical marijuana. It's the OLCC, the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, that is making, right now, trying to make the administrative rules that will govern that, correct? And they're not quite sure what they're doing yet because they're getting a lot of input and conflicting information, I think, from what I've read. But if they do determine, because I saw one person's idea that they actually put the recreational marijuana into the same facility as medical marijuana, and if they were to allow social clubs with recreational marijuana, do we then have to come back and adjust this or have it reconcile with provisions that are forthcoming on the recreational side? Have you thought about that? I guess that's my question.
Well, first of all, the Measure 91 itself does not speak to recreational marijuana social clubs.
Okay.
That would be something that would have to be addressed ultimately in the rulemaking process
By the OLCC.
by the OLCC.
Okay. So it's silent on it, or it doesn't prohibit it, but it doesn't allow it, or?
I believe it's silent on the whole question. So if they would be permitted, and if they were permitted, the regulation of them would have to be subject to the rulemaking process.
Okay. So right now, we don't know whether social clubs will be allowed under Measure 91.
Correct.
And between July 1 and January 1, it's likely that they won't be permitted, or we don't know yet. It's possible that the rules may come out on personal use and allow them. I'm just asking.
The personal use is described in the measure, and I don't know if they're going to tweak that, but the concern is that it's not supposed to be consumed or used in public. But if you have these private social clubs that start attaching to certain facilities, that they might be looking for a loophole, and we just, other than the employee exception, there should be no consumption on the premises of medical marijuana facilities at this time.
All right. So we will go ahead and pass this as is, but probably make a note that we're going to have to keep watching what happens at the legislature and what happens at the OLCC, and this may need to be adjusted when we bring forward regulations about zoning recreational marijuana.
And specifically, there's sort of three things to keep in mind, to keep an eye on. One is what, if anything, the legislature may do. Second is the OLCC regulations when they come out. And third would be, I suppose, the natural evolution of the business as time goes on.
And what does that mean?
we don't necessarily know what form the industry is going to take and what different business models are going to develop over time.
All right. This will be interesting. So you have any other questions?
No. So, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we read this ordinance by title only twice.
All right, I will second your motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I will read this ordinance by title only twice. It's an ordinance amending Chapter 5.25 of the Marion County Code and declaring an emergency. An ordinance amending Chapter 5.25 of the Marion County Code and declaring an emergency.
Now I'd make a motion that we adopt the ordinance having to do with marijuana dispensaries.
And I will second the motion. So I think these are just under discussion. Three good clarifications. And as I said in the just questioning part, I think that we've just kind of started this conversation, and there'll be a whole lot more that we'll have to figure out. Any further discussion for you? All right, all in favor of approving this ordinance by emergency, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Okay, we have one more item under Board of Commissioners, and that is to consider approval of a memorandum of understanding with Multnomah County and Third Sector Capital Partners for a Pay for Success Technical Assistance Grant. And so what you have before you, and this got added to the agenda late because as I think what we mentioned here at a board session, that we were working on this, that we'd been awarded a technical assistance grant from Third Sector Capital Partners, and were awarded it in conjunction with, our application was in conjunction with Multnomah County. It's to help Marion County and Multnomah County put the structures in place so that we can develop contracts that are long-term contracts that reward outcomes as opposed to just rewarding service delivery. So instead of, oftentimes government just looks in the very short term, and we award contracts and say, okay, provide us so many hours of service, you'll do all of these services, but then we don't have any way, we ask for results and outcomes, but if people aren't achieving outcomes, it takes a very long time to, number one, know that, and number two, do anything about it. And then there really isn't any additional reward for outcomes. You just keep getting your money, and you get to keep the contract if you get the outcome. So this is an idea that you actually incentivize results. So we've gone down this path. This, as I mentioned, when we got this grant, this is the first grant I've ever been involved with where we actually pay the grant awarding company money. And so we had put in the required, a little bit more than the required cash match into an agreement. We've had several telephone conversations with Third Sector Capital in Multnomah County, and there were two other entities in Oregon that were awarded the technical assistance, and that was Oregon Health and Science University and Friends of the Children. Both of those are up in the Portland area. We were presented with a fairly lengthy non-binding contract, which we being Multnomah and Marion County, and I think the other two partners too, we haven't talked as closely with them, were a little bit reticent to sign given that there was an exchange of funds involved, and we didn't want that to be in a non-binding format. So the compromise was that we put forward a non-binding memorandum of understanding, which allows the parties then to start interacting, to develop the scope of work, to develop the contract terms, which will be in a binding contract for the exchange of funds, including cash match, and then their commitments of time and technical assistance to both Marion and Multnomah counties and the other two Oregon awardees, as they call them. So Gloria has worked with the Multnomah County Council. Very late last night, we got an email from Third Sector saying that they were in agreement with a few changes that were made to the kind of the base narrative that we looked at the last conference call. So this is before us today, and I believe Multnomah County is also looking at it today. And did you hear whether Third Sector's actually signed it or not at this point? They, in the email, said that they agreed to sign it.
They agreed to sign
right.
it.
And we can sign this, what's the term that you used? Each one can sign it separately, right?
Right, it can be signed in individual counterparts, and
That's
then
the word I
we'll
was-
scan it back to each other. They're back in Boston, third sector's back in Boston, and we did receive a version this morning with just a couple more minor changes, so it's just,
Technical changes.
Technical
Do you remember
changes.
what they are by?
I have it right here, it's just putting an and in and underlining something that wasn't
Oh,
underlined, more
okay. So
formatting.
very technical
Very
changes then.
technical.
Okay, but what it means is that oftentimes when we sign agreements, we are signing an original that others have passed around and signed. But we will sign our own copy of this, they'll sign their own copy, and we'll kind of copies and we'll merge them together. So, do you have any questions about
Well,
that?
obviously, I just saw this. It seems routine in what it's trying to do. I'm playing with something, I might. I think I'll make a motion to approve it if you can tell me what CNCSSIF PFS grant is.
Okay, so
I'm just kidding. I see parts of it. I don't-
CNCS is the Corporation for National and Community Service. PFS is Pay for Success.
Oh, wouldn't you know?
And then SIF is their Social Innovation Fund. So,
Well,
those are the
all
main
sounds
acronyms.
reasonable. Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we do approve this memorandum of understanding with Multnomah County and Third Sector Partners Incorporated for a Pay for Success technical assistant grant and authorize the chair to sign.
I'll second the motion. And is it the chair, did we agree the chair signs, or is it John Latimer that signs? Did we?
Last time, you signed the letter of intent.
Okay,
but
so I-
it could be either one. Just if someone needs to be delegated authority.
Okay, well, it's fine if I'm the one that signs it, I don't mind. All right, so I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Thank you, Gloria, for all your hard work and getting it on our agenda today, because I think it kind of fell through a crack somewhere, and somebody had to pull it out, and you did that, so thank you. So those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and it's approved. No more action items on our agenda and no public hearings this morning, so I'll go ahead and read our Wednesday to Wednesday calendar. These are meetings where 2 or 3 commissioners will be in attendance between April 15th and April 22nd, 2015. We're just completing our regular Wednesday board session here at the Senator Hearing Room at Courthouse Square. Tomorrow, Thursday, April 16th at 8 in the morning is our monthly City of Salem, Marion County meeting. That will be held at the Sassy Onion on 1244 State Street in Salem. Will be followed at 9:30 by a work session on the 5th floor here at Courthouse Square in the Silverton Conference Room. And the topic is, I thought that was
Yes, I think it's
changed. I think that's canceled. Anyway, it was finance, P cards, and other purchasing topics, so we'll have to have that scintillating conversation on another day. On Thursday, April 16th at 3:30, we have another one of our 5-on-1, it says 1-on-1, but 5-on-1 department head and elected official meetings with Judge Jen Ziernoff. She's Justice of the Peace. That will be held in the Silverton Conference Room on the 5th floor here at Courthouse Square. At 6 p.m. on Thursday, April 16th, we will be doing our Marion County, it says State of the County presentation. It's more like a State of the County Town Hall meeting with the City of Mill City, and that will be held at in their council meeting room at their City Hall on 444 South First Avenue in Mill City. On Friday, April 17th at 7:30 in the morning is a community stakeholder meeting at the Capitol, room H278. I believe that's with Representative Jody Hack and other community members. Monday, April 20th at 8:30 is the Board of Commissioners calendar review. That's in the Silverton Conference Room, 5th floor here at Courthouse Square, followed by management update at 9 a.m., same place. Tuesday, April 21st at 8:45 a.m. is a 1-on-1 or 5-on-1 department head elected official meeting with Sheriff Myers, Silverton Conference Room. 10:15, April 21st, Tuesday, is an executive session pursuant to ORS 192-662D, and that would be bargaining with 2 of our bargaining units, MCLEA, which is the Marion County Law Enforcement Association, and FAPO, which is the Federation of Parole and Probation Officers, about bargaining. And then April 22nd, next Wednesday at 7:30 a.m., oh, this is going to be hard, is a breakfast meeting with Silverton and Mount Angel City Councils at the Home Place Restaurant, 1080 North First Avenue in Silverton, and that will be followed at 9 a.m. with our regular Wednesday board session here in the Senator Hearing Room at Courthouse Square. So a lot of meetings.
I have a couple of things. One, that meeting with the, it says Mount Angel and Silverton councils. We've been trying to work on that. We go around the county, as you know, getting to know people and seeing what's important in each community. We've been trying to set it up in the Silverton area for some time, so this is the first of those. But it isn't just available to Silverton, Mount Angel councils. Public's welcome, and certainly a good chance to talk one-on-one close up. And we've also set out, extended to Jervis and Scotts Mills to see if there's some interest. So I'm looking forward to that. I know 7:30 is not too hard for me, by the way.
Not a morning person.
I have one other thing. I just want to make note of these plants that were provided by Egan Nurseries. I talked about this last year, and it just kind of reminded me again. When I was a youngster growing up, my mother had to get her geraniums from Egan. So she'd load everybody up on an annual trip, and we'd head over there in Brooks on River Road. Not making a commercial, but it's just a pleasant memory, and obviously they have a great product.
Well, Kathy, you're going to come bearing gifts today to a lot of people, I have a feeling. Yeah, it was lovely. Thank you for setting all of that up. So yes, and we do, as a Board of Commissioners, meet monthly, as I read, with the Salem City Council and Mayor. We meet with Kaiser, we go up to Woodburn,
State.
we go to State and Sublimity.
Bill.
Well, and
Well, they
Almsville's part
come.
of that, right, yeah. And we used to go out to Detroit, long time ago. First year I was here, like about quarterly, and that ended. And I guess Silver...
Inviting us, or did something happen? What?
Well, actually, we went out there and they forgot it, that
Oh.
we were coming. And so it was Mike, Ryan, Patty, Milne, and myself, and we went up together, and we ended up eating lunch together in the restaurant up there and then driving all the way back. And then it just never kind of picked up again after that. So, but I have suggested that perhaps we look at a summer. I do remember we had also a picnic out there one time where there were a lot of people that came, and we had a chance to kind of socialize and talk
Now-
with people up there. Tim Steele was involved. Tim Steele, who recently retired, was involved in
So we
helping
have
put
the
that
meeting
together.
in Mill City tonight, and we should have organized this to try to, the mayors wanted to talk with the, related to the economic discussions we had last week, and they probably won't see this, but I would like more than just Mill City to be there tonight. And then I might announce another meeting if you're interested. I'll buy pizza in Mill City
Well,
afterwards.
it's tomorrow, it's
Oh, it's
not
tomorrow.
tonight, right? So you have
So
time
they
to...
have time.
Yeah, you do have
Good
time.
idea. I'd have been
Yeah.
up there tonight wondering where everybody was.
Yeah.
Say we got stood
On
up
that white
again.
motorcycle. Okay, anything else for the good of the
No,
order?
that wraps it up.
All right, so with that, we'll adjourn.